What up, guys? One thing from Locked In that you all wanted to see more of are the individual stories of all these amazing gentlemen. And I feel like a lot of people just need to listen to these because even if you're healthy and you don't have cancer right now, I know cancer has affected somebody in your life because the stats on cancer reflect that every single person watching this has someone in their life that has been affected by this. And if you are healthy, these stories still inspire you immensely. So I want you guys to dive into each of these stories and really reflect on them and learn some lessons that you can take with you for your own life, your own discipline, your own health. So here we go.
Hey everyone, my name's Trace Britt. Social media, gonna be Trace Britt 47 on all platforms. I am 19 years old. I'm from Georgia, and on July 25th, 2024, I was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, bulky. They found a tumor between my heart and my left lung, about 5 by 6 inches. So as of January 9th, a few weeks ago, I'm in remission after 8 rounds of chemo and 18 rounds of radiation. And I actually just got my port out the other week, so super excited about that. During my senior year, 2025, around April, I started experiencing some fatigue, a cough, night sweats, fever, chills, that kind of stuff. I had this cough continue for a few months. Eventually in June, when this cough wouldn't go away, my mom took me to the pulmonologist and I got some blood work done and I did breathing tests. And after one of my breathing tests, I stepped outside to do an interview for a job I was getting. And when I came back in, the doctor kind of looked at me and he was like, yeah, you failed pretty much every breathing test we had for you. I want you to go downstairs and get a chest x-ray done. And driving home, 10 minutes later, phone call comes in from the doctor. And as soon as this phone call came in, my heart dropped to my stomach. I was like, what the heck is wrong with me? And he kind of explained that there was a mass in my chest that they really didn't know what it was, where it came from. So I got admitted to the ICU, and after a few hours, they took me in for what they call pericardial centesis, which is where they drain the fluid around from your heart. And they couldn't put me under very much anesthesia due to the amount of fluid around my heart. And this was the most amount of pain I've ever been in. I had to be awake, laying on the operating table, and I haven't told many people this, and I'm trying to be very authentic. So I'm laying on the operating table with probably 10 nurses, you name it, around me, and there's just tears coming down my face. I'm like screaming on this table because of the amount of pain I was in. From there started probably the hardest few months of my life. Especially being an 18-year-old about to go off to college. Everyone, all my friends, my girlfriends, they left for college and I was just at home.
Yeah, my name is Christopher Archilla and my social media is Mr. LB for LB. It's Mr. Pound for Pound. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. It's a certain type of cancer called fibrolamellar carcinoma. I'm actively still going through treatment because I did beat it, but they still need to do, it's called maintenance treatment to make sure that nothing comes back, no microscopic cell was left unseen. It was 2023, November, I started getting weak. My lifts were going down, or I just wasn't getting stronger, and it was strange. And I remember I would go eat and I'd feel feel strange. I would sit back like this and just feel like something was wrong with me. And then out of nowhere, I got sick. I just was throwing up a bunch of blood, and my mom was like, go to the doctor, you have to, something's wrong with you. We don't know what's wrong with you, but something is wrong with you. And we did end up going to the doctor, but I lost my mind. So there's a neurotoxin called ammonia that your liver filters out, but because my liver had a lot of cancer around it, it wasn't working right, and the ammonia shot up to my brain, and these levels are supposed to be from 25 to 50. I don't know the exact measurement or like the grams, but it's supposed to be 25 to 50, but mine was at 290 something. And I lost my mind. I started attacking people, attacking doctors, They were like wrestling me, putting me on a chair. If I wouldn't have gone to the hospital that day, I would have died, because once it reaches 300, your brain could just start malfunctioning and you just die because it doesn't work anymore. Once I woke up, I was in a hospital and they told me I had cancer, and it was very, very surreal. You know, I don't know if you guys seen Breaking Bad, but when Walter White gets diagnosed with cancer, he kind of everything just feels like it doesn't make sense anymore. That's how I felt. I felt like nothing made sense. Why did this happen to me? But I ended up telling myself that, you know, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep going, keep fighting. I had doctors tell me that I was gonna live for 1 year. And when you're at the age of 20 and you're told that you have a year left to live, you start thinking about, why did I do anything in my life? It didn't matter in the end. But I remember I told myself that I was just gonna have faith in God and faith in Jesus Christ, and tell myself that, you know, anyone who could get me through this is Jesus.
My name is Shane Burke. I grew up from Westchester, Pennsylvania, right outside Philadelphia. I grew up in a family with 2 other siblings, mom and dad, raised well, played in sports. So at 19, I was a sophomore in college, and I was experiencing these headaches. I always attributed it to being dehydrated, hungover. I was living the typical college life, partying every weekend, sometimes 5 days a week, to be honest. I was in a fraternity. But I had these really pulsing headaches that I didn't think anything of. I didn't know much about the medical treatment in cancer. I had family history of relatives with cancer, but I thought it was just something due to my diet. I wasn't taking care of my body. But at 19, sophomore year, I was home from winter break, and I was getting these really bad headaches, and I knew I had to get it checked out before I went back to college, because I was at school 6 hours away, and it wouldn't have been smart to keep suppressing it with Advil and just going down to hang out. So I played a round of golf, and I actually put down the ball on the 18th tee box, and I had a huge wave of dizziness and a quick blackout. And that was 2 days before I went back to college for my spring semester. So I knew I had to get it checked out. The doctor didn't know what it was, sent me to the emergency room. I went to get a CAT scan, and they found a tumor on my cerebellum. So I got diagnosed with a brain tumor. It wasn't cancerous yet, but a week later, I was driven down in an ambulance to a hospital in Philadelphia, and I was preparing for brain surgery. So I got the tumor resected from my head, and then it got sent down to another hospital in Tennessee, St. Jude's Research Hospital, which then it was diagnosed with medulloblastoma, a form of brain cancer in children. And then from then I endured 30 rounds of radiation, 4 rounds of chemotherapy, which took about 7 to 8 months. And then the doctors wanted me to put on a post-treatment chemo pill, but they didn't have much data of if it would help me or if it would keep the cancer away. So I opted to stop taking it when I was back at school, because my hair never grew back. I was not strong, I was not gaining weight, I was always weak, and I just wanted to live the college life again. So I discontinued the pill, but I've been cancer-free for coming up on 5 years this August.
My name is Aaron Delgado. My social media is AaronD_2. I was born in New York, but I moved to Dallas when I was around 10 years old, and that's where I've been ever since. Right now I'm going to school at Texas Tech, so guns up. I was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 19 years old, the summer after my freshman year of college. And I'm actually in remission right now for almost about 11 months. Honestly, before I got diagnosed, I always lived life worrying about like the next day and the future, and not really living in the moment ever. I just wasn't ever really satisfied with what I was accomplishing in my day-to-day life. I kind of just kept going through the motions, trying to get through each and every day. So I think the biggest thing that changed for me after, aside from like diet and health, is just really living in the moment and being present in every moment and every conversation that you have with everyone in your life. And I think it's really been the biggest benefit of my post-cancer journey. I would say I had a very average diet. I didn't eat a crazy amount of junk, but I definitely would binge here and there. A lot of candies like M&M's, stuff, basic stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing for me was not a lot of protein. I would eat a lot of like deli meats, not a lot of steaks, chicken. I wouldn't cook for myself very often. And now after treatment, I'm definitely like cooking for myself a lot more. I prioritize, healthier snacks instead of a lot of like M&Ms and candy like that. So I think my diet's definitely improved a lot since I was diagnosed. So when I was trying to get diagnosed, there was a lot of anxiety because at the time I had no idea what Hodgkin's lymphoma was. I had no idea what the symptoms you need to look out for and all that. All I saw was a big mass that appeared on my neck. It was extruding out by about almost 6 centimeters, which it looked really bad at the time, especially looking back at it now. And a big thing for me was not knowing what that was or what that could have led to. So that's a big reason why I started like posting content so that I could share that with others, so that others who are going through similar things can pick up on it and get diagnosed as fast as possible. Honestly, for Hodgkin's lymphoma, it has a pretty good survival rate. So I wasn't thinking like I'm gonna die or anything. I feel like the odds were in my favor, but the biggest thing for me was just not being able to get to the finish line right away because I had never faced anything like it in my life. I'm like the type of person who wants the fastest solution to everything, and that's just not what you get when you're diagnosed with cancer. So it was the first time in my whole life where I really had to take months and months out of my time to really grind for something and get to a place where I needed to get to. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had to do it, I had to grind through it, and that was the only way to stay alive. So I think that really taught me a lot going through that.
What's up, guys? Craig Castorella here. Instagram handle is CraigCast. My life prior to cancer was pretty good. I was living a life in between, so half in, half out of health and wellness. I exercise probably 3 days a week at most, but my diet and my sleep probably weren't the best. I was eating out a lot, ate a lot of fast food, calling out for, deliveries. Sleep was another big problem of mine. I couldn't lock in my sleep for a good amount of my 20s, going into my 30s, and I wasn't, really focusing on my metabolic health as much as I should have. And I think those were some pretty big factors leading into my cancer diagnosis. Growing up, I dealt with a lot of trauma with addicts in my family and not living the most comprehensive family dynamic life. And I love my mom and dad. They are great parents. They've done amazing things for my family. But growing up, there were things that I had to face as a child that most children didn't have to face or go through. That stress and that trauma lingered with me for quite some time, and they went unresolved, frankly. And I probably had a good amount of PTSD or trauma that were lingering with me into my 20s. And, I was trying to fill voids, and I was coping a lot between partying, drinking, drugs, girls, and those things were not fulfilling and they weren't making me happier. I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, diffuse large B cell, which is a very rare cancer. This usually affects people in their 50s and 60s and affects around 22,000 people a year in the United States, so it's not many. I was stage 2 bulky, so I had a grapefruit-sized tumor in my chest, and then I had a 4-centimeter tumor in my throat and jaw that was actually visible. I was diagnosed when I was 29 years old, and I was feeling really guilty, really shitty. I was really thinking about everything in life that I hadn't been able to accomplish or get after. Some of the hardest questions I had to ask myself was, will I be happy when I'm 6 feet under? And to be honest, I couldn't say, yeah, I would be happy. I couldn't say, I'm ready to leave this planet. But one thing I learned after being diagnosed was that you are your own true advocate in this world. And what I mean by that is that no one in the world is going to come save you or help you or give you the life that you want to live or provide the life that you want to live. For me, I was misdiagnosed 3 times by 3 Johns Hopkins doctors, and they neglected me because of, I guess, their egos. And it made me realize that even with me advocating for myself, these people weren't listening.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Josh. Social media, Instagram account is Josh Deluxe, and I had stage 4 gray zone lymphoma. I was heavily influenced by, partying, a lot of late nights, not prioritizing sleep, using recreational drugs occasionally in my like late teen years. So not the healthiest lifestyle for sure. And that's just mainly due to like a lot of like trauma in my life, like a lot of childhood trauma. Just to give you some more context, my dad had cancer, and he had lung cancer, and he died when I was 13. And so my life wasn't perfect from a young age. Like seeing him get diagnosed, and then he got diagnosed when I was 7 years old. And so from 7 to 13 years old, I was just watching, my childhood hero disintegrate before my eyes, And so obviously that trauma, you take it with you in your entire life. So once I got to a certain age, like his death really just hit me in the wrong way, man. And I played football, but I was really good. And then, I had an offer to go play college, and I fucked that up because I was just so like, had such a negative outlook on the world. I was just mad at the world, and I never thought that like I would get cancer too. And then, when it came, I was just like so shocked. Like I was like, no way, like this shit is still like lingering in my life. Like took my best friend, and now it's trying to take me. And so I'm just like, what the fuck? Yeah, so when you get diagnosed with cancer, depending on the severity level, you'll either do radiation or chemo. That's pretty much your generic options. And so if it's spread in multiple locations, your only option is to do chemo. You can't do radiation at different points all over your body. It's just, you'll die from that. And so I had to do chemo because I had a tumor, a big ass tumor in my chest, a big ass tumor in my neck, and then just multiple lymph nodes all throughout my body that were cancerous. And so I had to do 6 rounds of chemotherapy and then 2 rounds of immunotherapy. So like 8 rounds total. Lost all my hair. Didn't even know who I was. Like it's hard to recognize yourself when you're going through chemo. I'll be super transparent. Like when I first got diagnosed, I was very suicidal, very just defeated, like why? And then there comes a point where it's like you have this instinctual feeling inside of us as humans where it's like, the fight or flight thing. It's like you're gonna fight for your life. And so I had to just lock in and do the therapy, and I just knew I wasn't ready to die yet. I wasn't ready to go back and see my father. And so I just know I had a lot more life to live, and so I just kept telling myself that I'm gonna survive or die trying.
I'm gonna be honest, the first time I got diagnosed, I told myself that this is good because I didn't think that there was anything left for me in my life. I was like, you know what? I feel great. I'm gonna just throw in the towel. And then my dad and my parents, I saw them crying and I saw them praying for me. And I said, you know what? Because of them, I'm gonna keep fighting. And then when I finally found a bigger faith in Christ, I knew that I was gonna keep fighting for him too.
I think for me, I have a very tough mentality as well. Meaning like kind of brute force, get over the hump, like just battle through it, be tough. And listen, I'm a tough guy, but there were times I was crying, I was breaking down. I didn't think I was gonna make it. I kept thinking, I might die in my sleep. I might die next month. I don't know.
So I'd say the thing that, really helped me keep going, honestly, there was times where I wouldn't know what was gonna keep me pushing because I couldn't see the end of this chemo. And on those days, I would pray pretty much every night to God, and I wouldn't ask him to take away this pain. I wouldn't ask him to cure me of cancer. The only thing I would ask him for was, God, give me the strength. Give me the strength and the power to get through this.
So for me, I heavily relied on my parents and my brother. Those are the main 3 people that really got me through everything. They saw the worst of it, the best of it, the depression, the happiness, and everything in between. And I feel like their support really got me through everything because after, I started chemo, they kind of saw its effect on me, and we built boundaries pretty quickly because when you're going through treatment like that, it's pretty hard to socialize a lot, and you're not always the nicest person in the world. So having people who really saw that side and were, open to maybe talking to you a little less when you needed to not be talked to. That really helped me a lot. And just having people there to cook meals for you, take you out when you need to go out, just make you feel human. I know a lot of people who've done the journey by themselves and have gotten through it, but a lot of that time you don't feel human. You feel like you're missing out on a lot.
And so I got heavily spiritual, deep diving into like the Word of God and just meditating a lot, asking for answers, getting into jujitsu, doing hard things, There's a saying that I like to live by. It's do difficult things easily.
I'll never forget laying in the hospital bed, like praying to Jesus, saying, hey, if I make it out alive, I'll run as far as you want me to go. And that's why I still run today. I don't really tell people that often because it's kind of like, it was my own personal prayer, my own personal moment. But being in a hospital bed, realizing that running wouldn't even been possible.
I had supernatural experiences while I was in the ICU. I remember hearing Jesus speak to me saying that I was gonna be fine. One of my dreams specifically, there was a doctor that put this medical device in me and he was like, you're gonna be fine, you're just gonna have this for 1 year. And a year later, I had a 23-hour surgery. And this 23-hour surgery, the surgeons didn't think that it was gonna take out the cancer. They said it was an exploratory surgery, that this surgery was gonna be one that they didn't know if they were gonna take out the cancer. They didn't know how they were gonna proceed to do it with me. They said that it might fail, so they gave me all these risks, but in the end, I woke up and I asked them, what did they take out? They said everything. They said everything's gone.
So my faith, I wasn't very faithful before I started, my cancer journey, but my cancer journey definitely taught me a lot about faith. I think for me, I realized that I can't control everything from my diagnosis. There's a lot of effects it has on the relationships in your life and the people around you that I'll never have control of. So learning that really started to make me lean on God, because God's the only person who can truly determine the people who are gonna be around me and the people who are gonna want the best for me. And that's exactly why I started trusting in Him and having faith every single day. And I truly believe that, whoever's around me in the end is the people that are meant to be there. So my faith has had a tremendous impact on my journey.
I would say I put a lot of my trust back into God. And that's where my mindset shifted heavily. And that's where I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like I needed to have my friends there anymore. I didn't feel like I needed to have family there. I didn't feel like I needed to have a significant other there. The only person I wanted with me was Jesus.
So during treatment, I wasn't active at all. I would just sleep in bed and then wait for the next round to come. But there was a time where I bought a stationary bike and I would just get on it and just move my legs, because I thought just movement in the legs or anything, just getting out for a walk would just help me get something done for the day, and I felt productive. But as time went on, I started to see progress and how much better I felt, whether it was fitness, going for a run, or even going for a walk. So just some form of daily movement compounded and kept going and going. But my mentality really changed because I saw what it was like to be in the bed and not being able to move. And the moment I had freedom to go do what I wanted to do and I didn't have to report back to the hospital was when I realized I could take this to a whole different level.
I don't think much changed, but I know for a lot of people it does, because you really do feel terrible from the chemo. But for me, I felt like working out was like a medicine, because every time I was able to break a sweat, it actually was the best feeling that I had, and it made me feel way more refreshed. So
I see way too many people eating crap, and in addition to eating crap, they sleep like crap. In addition to that, they do drugs, and they end up with these diseases, and it's a result of their lifestyle. And the other thing about eating healthy and working out, even you don't have to work out, just get physical activity every day, it significantly lowers your chances of dying to cancer. It seriously does. When you have muscle on you, it increases your chances of surviving any cancer.
For people who are going through cancer, or caregivers that are dealing with people with cancer, or family members that are dealing with cancer, you are your own advocate to get better and healthy. You have the ability to make things easier or harder for yourself. And at the end of the day, you're going through something that not many people will understand.
I'd say definitely just becoming more educated on like different ways I can be healthy, like seeing all the health guys like sauna a bunch, you know, drinking electrolytes with every you know, like as much as you can, replacing all your minerals, vitamin C, just the cliche stuff that's overlooked, but that just completely changes the game. And then on top of that, just keeping stress levels extremely low.
I would definitely say my biggest piece of advice, besides leaning on your faith, is just trust that you are where you need to be. And you know, cancer might seem like the end of the world, and it might seem like there's no getting back from it. But I mean, look at where I am right now doing this video. It's something that I never thought I would be doing when I was staring out the hospital not even a year ago today. So always keep pushing, you know, even if religion isn't something you're interested in, keep that moral code that keeps you going in your life, because there's something out there, you know, there's a bright light at the end of the tunnel for you to get to and succeed in life, no matter what you want to do or no matter how bad you feel in the moment, you can do it. So that's my main message to anyone out there.
Don't waste your chance, because you're only here once, and you got to rewrite your story, because everyone has a story. If you don't think you have a story, you're lying to yourself, because everyone has their own unique story, and you just can't waste your life at all, because I wasted my life for 19 years until I realized that I had a second shot, and that's why I'm here today.
I feel like if you have faith, then you could do anything you want, because when you're not stressed and you have that faith, you could work out without having stress. You could eat without having stress. You just have this knowing that you're gonna beat the cancer, and having that thought that, oh, I'm gonna beat this and I'm gonna keep going because no one could tell me what I can and cannot do. You're gonna beat it because you know that Jesus has you.
When unexplainable stuff happens, just, you know, just try to stay happy. Love your family, love your friends, and because that's, you know, that's this our greatest gift is, as humans, I believe, is our ability to love each other and our ability to connect and be happy, you know. And so just try to lean into that. And God bless you if you're going through cancer.
All right, guys, we got Craig in the studio now. Craig, it's many days after locked in, and Craig just loves San Diego so much that he's trying to stay locked in out here. I love it, dude.
I just keep extending my vacation.
Dude, that's the best, bro. I feel like I'm like a salesman for San Diego now. I sell a lot of people on moving here. I'm like, you should move here. Like, everybody I sit down with.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get here.
It's so nice. Especially, like, you know, the rest of the United States right now is cold, icy, windy, and we have had some of the best weather we've ever. It was like 78 degrees yesterday.
I'm trying to pull everyone from the Northeast over here because there's nothing to go back to over there.
Yeah, it's cold, bro. Only thing is that they'll charge you for it out here. I'll tell you that. They'll charge you for it. But San Diego feels more worth it than the Bay Area did for me. Like, the Bay Area, you would go to a park and it would be covered with fentanyl addicts. You know, there'd be like a transgender rally in one, you know, corner, and you're like, all right, like, this is, you know, it is what it is.
This is just not me.
You know, here there's like a beautiful beach, you know, the parks are clean. You get to just walk into the, you know, nice ocean. You've been spending a lot of time snorkeling out here, huh?
I've been spending a lot of time snorkeling, enjoying the ocean. It's honestly a outdoorsman's fairyland.
It is.
And you get the mountains, the desert, everything. So for me, I'm having a field day out here. I'm enjoying it. I'm taking it all in. And, yeah, I'm trying to.
Bro, the marine life out here is crazy, dude. Like, yesterday we were surfing and we had like dolphins swim right underneath us, like a pod of dolphins. And my buddy Austin is scared of dolphins because I told him the story that they fuck people, which isn't really, like, I guess it might be technically true. Albert's saying, yeah, they do. Yeah, Albert probably told him that story too. And now Austin's like scared of dolphins. And we see dolphins a lot when we're surfing. And this huge pod swam, literally, bro, right under my board. Like, I could have touched the dolphin right there. And Austin gets scared, bro. He tries to paddle away. He's like, they're going to fuck me. They're going to fuck me.
Usually dolphins are the defender of the oceans.
That's what I'm saying.
So I would feel protected if I had a
felt
dolphin
great.
swim under me.
Yeah, I felt protected.
We got to talk to Austin.
Yeah, we do. We need to. He won't buy it, man. He's still worried about him. So yeah, man. Tell me about what you are training for right now and why.
So currently I'm training for the Leadville 100, and I'm doing it because I really want to show people the importance of health, nutrition, and exercise, and how beneficial it truly is for everyone to really be focused on that and lock in.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, you know, I had a lot of stuff going on in my life as a kid, but I really had a great childhood. I embraced a lot of outdoor activities with my friends. I did a lot of stuff. I did a lot of traveling. Really, really enjoyed just like animals. I enjoyed being outdoors,
Yep.
hiking, just doing weird things that other kids probably didn't really like to do as much. And, getting into high school, I kind of lost that sight and got into the wrong things. I was doing things to hang out with people and kind of just fit in. And, it brought me away from my fulfillment personally. So within regards to that, I am doing the Leadville 100 to show people the importance of getting out there, finding yourself, challenging yourself, the importance of suffering, and why we need to suffer sometimes in life, and why you should be kind of choosing that suffering instead of waiting for it to come to you. I was living a very, I would say, idle life where I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I would work out here and there, and that definitely took a toll on my health because I wasn't taking advantage of it. I was drinking, I was smoking, I had piss poor sleep, things that weren't beneficial to me whatsoever. And you could noticeably see the difference.
Yeah.
Just 3 years ago in my body type, who I was as a person, my mentality, everything. And I've completely transformed through faith, nutrition, exercise, and just putting myself out there and challenging myself in ways that I'd never thought of. So in regards to Leadville 100, I am working with First Ascents, and they are an outdoor nonprofit organization that's working with cancer patients across the country to help give them the ability to get outdoors, experience, hiking, whitewater rafting, seeing, majesty sunsets at the Grand Canyon. They are doing things that are actually exhilarating to these patients and bringing them to life that, that they might have not gotten in the hospital or outside of treatment. And, with finances already being kind of tough and them battling insurance companies, this nonprofit organization is giving them a full ride to get out there and experience the world, maybe one last time or for the first time ever. And that to me is really important because I know how important it is to be outdoors and kind of, experience that and see the world for what it is and how healthy that is to someone mentally and physically.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think it's, a lot of the, like you're saying, a lot of the stories were incredible because it's not just this battle that you're fighting with cancer, but it's a battle with the health insurance companies. It's a battle with, okay, your treatment is only available at this hospital that's 2 hours away. So, like Trace was like waking up at like 5 a.m. and driving 2 hours to a brutal treatment. And then it's like, that's a whole other battle. It's not just like, okay, like I have to go through this brutal treatment at the hospital down the road. Like, no. You're going to have to figure so much shit out. You might not be able to go to the hospital down the road. It's like you have to now go hours and hours away. And this, like, bankrupts families. It's really tough.
So cancer is a battle on all four fronts. You're battling finance, you're battling insurance, you're battling family, you're battling work, you're battling the actual disease itself, and then you're battling yourself mentally.
Yeah.
And within all of that, you kind of have to like tunnel vision and block out the noise and focus on you and be selfish slightly and understand that you need to do what's best for you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can't be doing what's best for others.
Bro, I talk about this all the time that sort of like with health, I'm sort of selfish. And I say that, and people in my life know that I'm not like a selfish person. But what I mean by this is you have to carve out the time for yourself. And being too selfless and not like overly focused on your health can sometimes negatively affect your health. Whether that be people are drinking alcohol and you don't want to drink alcohol, but you're, you know what, I'm just going to entertain them. So I'm going to drink. You might harm your health. And it can be little things. Like sometimes like, my wife is like, hey, like, let's like watch a movie. And it's like a completely like appropriate time to like watch a movie. Like it's 7 p.m. We've eaten, we've chilled. And sometimes I'm like, hey, I need like 45 minutes. I need to do this like shoulder rehab. And, luckily she's a great partner. So she's like, of course, like,
yeah, that's a
do your
blessing.
thing. Yeah. But like, like let's say this is another thing for like finding a good woman, like early on in the relationship, she was like, what? Like you need to like, don't do that. It's probably not the one for you. You know what I mean? But like there's a sort of like, almost like it is in a way, like a bit of a like selfishness. So yeah, like it's, yeah.
For me, I had a fiance when I was going through treatment. she was great. She was by my side the whole time. And, I don't regret, anything with her, but there were things that I was doing prior to the cancer treatment, that I should have probably worked on, like drinking, smoking, things that, you know, probably weren't the best for my health that she wanted me to get better on. And then I ended up getting cancer, and that was the big eye opener for me. And I changed after that, but I'm no longer with her, but we're best friends still. And I think it's super important for, guys to understand that, like, I think generally women want the best for us, and you really need to find the woman that's going to be best for you, that matches and suits what you want in your lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's very true. Yeah, finding a partner, I think, is like, dude, it's one of the toughest things. One of the most controversial things I post about, in a way, like whenever I'm talking about, like, you should try to find a good woman and get married, like people are like, they aren't out there. They don't exist. It's cooked. And, it's like, I don't really have like a great response to these young men, because it's like, it's hard to find. Don't, like, I'm not like, I'm not telling people it's going to be easy. But it's like, I think if you look in the right places and you're super dedicated to, who you are, your health, your, whatever it is, man, like your grind, then you should be able to find the right one. But it's a hard problem.
I agree. I for me right now, I'm not looking. I'm kind of taking a back burner with that and focusing on my career, my health, and that part of my life right now. And truly, I think there's a lot of young guys out there who are focusing on that, and they might need to focus on other things in their life that are more of a priority.
For sure, 100%. So, in reflection of all this, what is some kind of final advice you have for young men that have watched this, that have consumed, this locked in cancer survivors content? What's your message to leave them with?
So my message to you guys, really, truly, take care of yourselves, focus on your faith, focus on your nutrition, focus on your exercise, make sure you're doing right by others. You're going to suffer at some point in your life. Understand that that's God. He could be humbling you, could be trying to show you something different, could be a part of your journey, but you got to embrace the hardships, and you got to keep looking ahead, and you have to stay positive, and you have to be patient. Nothing is going to come overnight. And, for me, I've been through a lot in my life, and I've just kept a positive mentality. I've really kept my chin held high. And every time something negative has happened, I just look at it in a positive light, because I know there's something else after. And I know if I keep doing good in the world, there's going to be good that comes back to me. And I just hope that other young men and people can follow that message and the importance of all of that.
Truth, man. And one through line we noticed with all of the cancer survivors was this sort of mix of, and we'll talk to Dr. Keneally, the oncologist, soon.
Love her to death.
Genetics obviously can load the gun, and then a mixture of stress, alcohol use, drug use, and stuff that is pretty out of your control when you're young. You could live near a gas station. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. They've shown you could live right on a golf course and your family doesn't have the water filter dialed in. Like these things that you can't really control when you're young.
There's a lot of things that you can't control. And I was telling one of my best friends about this. Like, we're exposed to a lot of toxins every single day in our life. It's almost impossible to kind of rid it all. And we just need to be mindful of what we're doing daily. We need to be mindful of what we're intaking and consuming. And if you just monitor that, you will live such a better lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. But, Jacob Food says it doesn't matter, that the toxic chemicals are not what's causing cancer. As a cancer survivor, what do you think?
I've seen some of his posts about seed oils, and I've commented on it. And he has told me that cancer patients need to stay away from seed oils. So I'm just slightly confused there as to why we should stay away and not normal people.
I don't think you or I are saying, like when I do the Sephora videos, I'm not saying makeup causes cancer. I'm saying that obviously when you look at the oncologists that have been on this podcast and go, hey, I have serious concerns about a combination of makeup, self-care products, heated seed oils, fragrances, pesticides, and of course, way above that, they put the pillars of sleep, exercise, basic nutrition. And then under that, they all, talking to Dr. Abood, same thing, they all put these things of like, we should have concern about this because cancer rates are skyrocketing in young men and young women especially.
You just brought me to my next point. So cancer rates have been skyrocketing since 2005. everyone's clapping for the 5-year survival rate
Mhm.
going up. And I love that. I support it. But if you look at the incidence rate, we're just moving backwards.
Mhm.
We're living longer on treatment, but we're also getting cancer more.
Mhm.
That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, and so we should be skeptical. That's my thing. I'm skeptical. I'm like, I'm not saying a crumble cookie is going to give you cancer, but what if I could make a cookie with, real ingredients or whatever it is? Like I'm not saying one McDonald's meal is going to cause you cancer, but the place down the road for $2 more has a grass-fed, smash burger and a lettuce wrap. Maybe go that. It's like if there's a better option, maybe if it's $1 or $2 more, choose that. It's like a pretty, base message. I feel like it's a pretty like accessible message, but I think people on the other side like to take it out of context and go, "You just said McDonald's causes cancer." No, but if I'm betting on Polymarket and we have two people that are 15-year-olds that one's going to eat McDonald's 10 times a month, which in the 80-20 rule everyone says you would be eating McDonald's way more than 10 times per month. Okay, so that's what like mainstream nutrition
Yeah,
recommends.
the
Like,
80-20 rule does not work.
yeah, eat 20% of your meals McDonald's, totally fine. Like as long as you stay within your calories and macros. Like I don't personally
I don't agree
support
with that.
I don't support that. Let's take that bet. Someone's eating McDonald's, 20 to 30 times a month, and someone's eating it 0 times.
Yeah.
Where am I going to place my money? That somebody's going to be cancer free. I'm going to
As-
place it on the real food.
As someone who grew up on a processed diet, I've noticeably felt the difference
For
coming
sure.
off of it, and it's tremendous. Like I grew up eating Oreos, Eddie's ice cream, all this crap junk food, and Emilio's pizza, right? Like that was a go-to for me coming home from school, and that stuff did nothing but make me fatigued, tired,
Mhm.
just feel like crap. Like
And if we knew about the alternatives, that's the thing. That's why I try to do so many videos on the alternatives, and I don't go as hard as Saladino or other people because I try to show that like I get it, bro. If you're young, you want a cookie. They sell those like Tate's cookies. I don't really personally eat them because they have a little too much processed sugar for me. But they have like the Tate's cookies there, and you look at the ingredients, like organic flour. Like they have a seed oil free option one, like and there's like a normal amount of sugar, maybe like 10 grams of
yeah,
sugar. in
like
a
nothing
cookie.
too
Yeah.
crazy.
So I'm like, go for that. You want to do pizza? Like you're better off getting 2 slices from a real Italian place that is using real ingredients than a whole Little Caesars microplastic ass red 40 filled pizza. Like that's the real message I'm trying to get across to people.
Yeah, and
is
I
like,
think also too, like the message you've gotten across, at least to me and others, is that like if you're out and you're traveling for work, like obviously you just need to be mindful, consider what you're gonna eat while going out. I mean, I've been out in San Diego. I've been really mindful of what I'm eating every single day
Mhm.
and really like focused on that.
Yep.
And it's been like quite annoying, but like it's really not that hard to
It's easier
find
down
them.
here. And the reason it's easier down here is because people are voting with their dollars. So when you go out right here, like we ate yesterday at a place 2 minutes away and it has amazing food because people vote with their dollars and that place is packed. So like the message that I'm spreading is going to make significant change in the world because we have, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people hopefully that think like we do. And so they're not going to want to go to the place that is unhealthy. And so they're going to get dollars taken away from them and they will adapt and there will be healthier options out there. So that's my dream. Any city I can go to, it'd be cool just be able to, eat healthy.
I'll be a part of that city.
Let's go,
Yeah,
dude.
let's
I love
go.
it. Guys, there's a fundraiser down below. If you can donate a few bucks for the organization that Craig talked about, that'd be amazing. $1 or $2 helps. So we love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave any comments and questions below. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.